Welcome to The Thinking Leader, brought to you by Red Team Thinking. Bad leaders react, good leaders plan, and great leaders think. Each week, you'll get new ideas and insights from business executives, military experts, and innovative thought leaders to help you lead more effectively and better navigate your complex world. Now, here are your hosts, best-selling business author and top-rated leadership speaker, Bryce Hoffman, and former RAF Wing Commander and business agility coach, Marcus Dimbleby.
So, welcome to the show, Bryce. It's great to be with you once again, and it's just you and me this week, no guests. So, what do you want to talk about, my friend?
Well, I'd like to talk about our Red Team coaches. I mean, I'm so excited because, it's been, gosh, we started working with coaching.com last year. We just this week finished our level 2 Red Team coaching program. We've had hundreds of coaches from all over the world go through these programs, and they're out there now. And they're using the Red Team thinking tools and techniques to support their clients in business and government and nonprofits all over the world. And I've learned so much from working with them, from teaching them, but to teach is to learn, right? We learn from our students, all the time. And it's been so great because, as one of the things that we've struggled to do over the years is really kind of scale Red Team thinking to a truly global level. And I feel like we've got the folks now to do that. And I'm really excited about it. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, we learn from the people who come along, and we talk about like-minded contrarians, but the diversity of the coaches we have, as you said, they're coming from all corners of the globe, getting up at all hours. That's what just blows my mind. People are working in APAC, getting up at 3, 4, 5 a.m. to join us.
Yeah, Singapore,
dedication. I know,
Hong Kong,
crazy.
Australia, New Zealand, India. It's amazing, right?
I know, and they're hungry for this to be broadcast out across their region. They're asking us, when are we going out there? So it's fabulous. And as well as working in all these different sectors and using these tools and techniques, as we know, the next day we teach them. The week later, we come back and have a quick catch up, don't we? And they're already providing evidence of how they've been using it with their clients. But for me, one of the big things was how they've been using these tools for themselves. This ability to turn the tool on themselves and look at themselves personally, looking at their own coaching businesses, looking at how they're behaving with clients and handling clients. And it's that real, I keep calling that two for one value that you get from these tools and techniques. You get to use them in your workplace with clients, but you get to use them on yourself and your home environment often. And I just think that's so brilliant. And it's heartwarming to hear the stories that we get back. And also, we've got a community now. Yeah. What is it you and I have always dreamt of since we first met? Our vision was, we want a movement.
Right. Well, it was our first conversation over some delicious curry. And
I remember that.
Yeah. Charing Cross.
Yeah. Charing Cross Station, Indian House outside there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I didn't remember. That's exactly our very first conversation was about how do we build this into a global movement?
Yeah. The insurgency.
Yeah. And then, COVID kind of interfered with that a little bit, but we've gotten there, Yeah. It's you're right. The thing that just makes it so much fun sharing all of this with all these coaches from all over the world is just that to me, to hear how they're using these tools and stuff. In one of our sessions this week, a woman, I don't remember where she was from, but she was talking about how she'd taken one of the tools that we taught and had used it 2 days later with the CEO of a company that she's working with. And was talking about how it changed their strategic thinking, how they started, they realized that they hadn't been looking at some of the threats and opportunities that they had coming on the horizon. And I just love hearing that because I know this stuff works, this stuff works, but it's still great to see people take it, make it their own. And that's the thing is, I've learned so many things from the coaches about how they've used things in ways that we haven't thought of before. Yeah. And I think that's really powerful.
It is. And what I'm loving as well, the sort of the caliber of the coaches on this program, these people are big hitters. They've got years under their belt. They're Marshall Goldsmith qualified, ICF certified. They've gone through all the programs. I remember one of them, Jeff Quinn, last year said, so Marcus, I'm pretty much done with all the coach training out there. And then you guys came along. He said, my wallet is now open. Whatever you guys are selling, I'm buying this because this stuff is game changing. And as you mentioned, they're using these tools and techniques instantly. And we talk about instant applicability and immediate efficacy. And it's just a fact. We're not overselling this. We're not overpromising. You use these tools and they are game changing and mind changing and helping people just think differently, look at problems from a different perspective, garner the perspective of others, shock horror, wisdom of the crowd, engaging your people to get their understanding and perspectives and problems. It's amazing. And again, one of the other coaches said, Marcus, we kind of know all this, but we never do it. And it's that common sense story, isn't it? That common sense isn't common. And once you have and I think somebody said to us, the secret sauce isn't the tools, it's how we teach people to use the tools. It's that pedagogical process that you and I are quite fastidious about, how we take people through the learning of this. Because then when you get to the front line to use them, it just becomes second nature and it's easy, and you just develop your own style. As we talked about then, people are using these tools in their own ways already. And it's great to get that feedback and understand the multiple ways that you can use one specific tool.
The thing that I'm really excited about too is, you and I and some of our associates have been working, to support organizations around the world, companies, governments, militaries, nonprofits, NGOs for years now. And what we haven't really had is the ability to work with leaders one-on-one and to support leaders one-on-one who, regardless of where their organization is at, simply want to become better leaders, better decision makers. Tagline of this program, thinking leaders. They want to become thinking leaders. And now we've got literally hundreds of people who know how to support leaders in this journey, who know how to teach them to go and think more critically, lead more effectively, and become comfortable with ambiguity, which is, I think, essential for any leader in the world today. And we've got people in every part of the world, from North America and Europe to Asia to South America to Africa to the Middle East. And
every continent bar Antarctica, we're there.
As far as I know, no one in Antarctica yet. Yeah. But definitely everywhere else. Well, we'll get someone at McMurdo Station at some point.
Indeed.
But yeah, and that's just so exciting to me, is because, I've had people reach out to me on LinkedIn in the past and say, I'm a business leader in Ghana and I'd love to learn more about what you do. And we haven't had a way to support people like that. And now we do. Now I can say, I've got several people in your city in Ghana.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who can work with you tomorrow. Yeah. Let me connect you with them. And I just think that's so exciting. And I can't wait to see what comes from this. I can't wait to see what our coaches do with this, where they're able to take this and do, and then, how that's able to continue to build this movement, as you said, which is finally becoming a real movement.
It is. And I think, you and I have always wanted to re-inject the capability of thinking back into people, haven't we? We're all curious, we're all born that way, and we know that it gets systematized out of us as we go through life. And we want to turn on that passion and that power of challenge, the 5 wise kid or the 55 wise kid, as both of our parents call us. And I think the same is now applicable to coaching. You talk to executives and they're like, bloody coaches. Yeah. And there's a certain level in organizations where you get a coach assigned to you and they come along with their grow model and a little booklet of how to be a coach. And they're not really coaching. They're just going through the checklist. And, we've seen those frustrations with the coaches we're working with. And again, what's nice is it's not us saying this, it's them who are very experienced saying, having this toolkit is a whole nother level of ability that they're now bringing to the coaching world. And we call it tough love coaching. These are hard, challenging techniques and tools that we bring, and it's making a difference, because this is what if you're in a position of senior leadership where you've got big decisions to be made, you're working in this VUCA world where things are changing daily, this stuff is hard. Let's not beat about the bush. This is freaking hard stuff. No wonder people have got imposter syndrome. No wonder people have got high stress levels. No wonder people are leaving and retiring early. And if you've got a super coach on your shoulders, Jiminy Cricket, helping you out, helping you think, being a sounding board once a week, once a month, whenever suits you, to really just have great, as we do, great discourse and good conversations about stuff that you struggle to talk with, then what better place can you be with that coach and in your position as a leader to take that opportunity and then shift that back into the workplace and execute on what you've learned? And that's a continual evolution. As we say, learning is continuous, the Kaizen approach to ourselves. And anybody who's out there sitting at the top of the pecking order or thinking they're there, thinking they know it all, they've learned everything, we've got news for you. You haven't.
That's the cool thing about this program is, we had some of our thinking challenged by the coaches in this program. And the great thing is that it actually created an opportunity for us to model I used to say, eat my own dog food, which is like a Mad Men era reference. You didn't like that. The coaches turned out didn't like that either. So we have a new saying, we drink our own coffee.
I need my mug.
So we've been drinking a lot of our own coffee in this program. And I think that's good because it shows people something that we really passionately believe, which is that admitting that you don't know the answer to something as a leader is a sign of strength, not weakness.
Absolutely.
Asking
humility,
your team
and strength
for their perspective is a sign of strength, not weakness as a leader. It's the
how many see that? How many actually believe that or think that?
Right.
That's
the
a
insecure.
Hurdle. Yeah.
It's the insecure leaders that are out there saying, "Hey, I have all the answers. Let me tell you what to do." And it's the strong leaders who are able to kind of say, "Well, what do you think? Let me hear what you think before I make a decision." And so we've been able to model that, which I'm very happy with. The other thing, though, I want to come back to something you said that I think is so important, and it's something that some of our coaches actually struggled with, was this idea that as we explain them, red team coaching is not talk therapy. This is not sitting on the couch with your clients saying, I see. Yes. Tell me more. Ah, yes. Yeah. What do you think the cause of that problem is? That's not what we're offering here. And that's not what we're teaching. As you said, this is tough love. And it's interesting because I think that in the coaching community writ large globally, I don't know if it's fear or laziness, but there's a lot of coaches out there, like you say, who act like they're psychoanalysts, whose approach to coaching is to ask a question every 5 minutes and then let their client talk. And while we absolutely want to hear what our clients have to say, we want our coaches to challenge them too, in a constructive way.
Absolutely.
And that's not incompatible with the core tenets of coaching. I mean, it's one of the principles actually of the International Coaching Federation is to challenge your clients' thinking, get them to challenge their own thinking, which is what the tools and techniques that we teach are designed to do, is to challenge people's thinking.
And I think a lot of people don't like to do that because what it surfaces is very uncomfortable. What it surfaces is something that the coachee, the client, may often know. They may often have kicked that can down the road. Ostrich effect is in full force. What do we talk about? We talk about the lies we tell ourselves. And often these people are living behind this facade that you as a red team coach comes in and you put your fist through that facade and it cracks like thin ice. And behind it, there's all of these worries, these concerns, these problems that have just amassed over time because people aren't addressing them. They're just thinking, oh, I'll leave that. And we all know that if you ignore something, it's going to be bigger the next time you look. And you can only close that door on it before the skeletons come pouring out of the closet. And I think that's what's so needed today because of the pace of change that we're going through now. One thing today becomes 5 tomorrow. It's 50 next week. And then you just can't physically deal with it. And then it becomes overwhelming and you can't even get close to dealing with any of it. Whereas if you're having a sounding board where somebody's calling you out and challenging you on those and forcing you, what was our last tool? Sea change, wasn't it? We wrapped up with a great tool called Sea Change, where it physically gives you clear parameters, clear metrics that you can hold your client to, you can hold yourself to, that allows you to physically and visibly see the progress where you need to go and how you're going there. And it's so
and
powerful.
Coaches love that. I was honestly surprised because I think it's an effective tool. Obviously we've used it, but I didn't think it was honestly as big a deal as many of our coaches thought. And we got so much feedback saying, this is great. Now I have a way to hold my client accountable.
That's why, because they've got nothing before that. Right. That's the thing. It's a clear roadmap.
And as we taught this, it's not just about holding your client accountable. It's about holding yourself accountable as a coach. Because if you're not helping your client grow,
what value am I adding to your journey?
What value are you
adding? Yeah.
And there's a story that I shared in our class that it still just makes me shake my head when I think about it. Several years ago when we were expanding and we were bringing on some additional associates and I was teaching a group of really experienced consultants, very successful consultants, how to use our tools and techniques. They were going to, join us and support us with this. And, we were doing one of our usual games, exploring some of the lies we tell ourselves. And one of the very successful consultant said, well, I said, what are some of the lies that consultants tell themselves? And his was that every engagement has to lead to an epiphany, that every time you work with a company, it has to lead to some sort of mic drop moment. Yeah. And he went off and said, that's not true. We do our best, but you can't expect that to happen, every time. And, if it happens 50% of the time, that's good and stuff. And I said to him, I said, why not? Why is anyone paying you if you're not leading, if your work with them isn't leading to some great revelation because otherwise, what do they need you for?
Correct. Justify your
and it's
purpose.
the same thing with coaches. If you're not as a coach helping your clients become better leaders, become better people, become better managers tomorrow than they were yesterday, why should they keep paying you money?
You're just a therapist, that's all. And they've got therapists out there who can do that. You don't need a coach to play the ear of the CEO. You need somebody who's going to help them and guide them and support them. And the key thing is challenge them. These people don't get challenged. We joke about the 4-star general, no one's going to tell you the truth anymore. And you get to these certain levels where nobody calls you out. Not even your buddies and colleagues and peers call you out when you get to a certain position, because of all the things we know about careerism, internal politics, fear. So you get and you walk around with the rose-tinted spectacles on thinking everything's great. All that comes up to you is good news. And then should you step out of your ivory tower and go down to where the work's happening, go to the Gemba, as they call it in Toyota, and then you start to find out what's actually happening. And you're like, wow, I didn't realize this. And then you look how that information is flowing up through however many levels of management to get to you, and you realize it's not getting to you. It's getting filtered. Right. I used to call it the kernel filter in the military. And this is one of those revelations again, because the coach can help you see this and arm you to go and find out. The greatest capability I think we have is enabling people to engage their own people quickly, anonymously, and enabling truth to come out. And with that truth, you then get better quality of understanding of data, of information to make better decisions. And that's all we're trying to really do, is help leaders today in this hugely complex world just make better decisions faster. Absolutely. Because we need to.
Absolutely. Let's take a break and we'll talk more about this on the other side. Stay tuned. Hey folks, Bryce here. If you're listening to this and you're liking what you're hearing and you're wondering, am I a red team thinker? We have an easy way for you to find out. Just go to the show notes, click on the link there to our free assessment to find out if you are a red team thinker and what you can do to think more effectively, to lead more effectively, and to make better decisions faster in your complex world. Like I said, the link is in the show notes, or you can simply go to our website, redteamthinking.com. Check it out. I can't wait to see how you score.
So welcome back. As always, great chat during the break, and we're going to share some of that with you now. So Bryce, we've got some years under our belt. We've got some great learnings. We've got some great clients, and now we've got this group of phenomenal coaches. Where do you see us going next with red team thinking?
Well, next step is we're starting in October with many of these coaches are going to be joining us to become trained as Red Team instructors. So what that is all about.
Does that mean that you and I don't have to do all this delivery again and we can have other people helping us? Oh.
Exactly what it means, Marcus.
I like
exactly
that.
what it means.
I like that.
We already have some great people helping us. Let's be honest,
Indeed.
though. But we're going to get even more great people to help us because, again, this is all about growing, not just growing the movement, growing the intellectual insurgency that we are so committed to. And so I'm really excited about this. We're going to be training these advanced coaches, not in one-on-one coaching, but how to train teams in using these tools and techniques to support, again, corporations, businesses, government agencies, militaries, nonprofits all over the world, and help them develop their own in-house red teaming capability so they don't have to rely on us or others to do this for them, that they can have this as an in-house capability, which I think is critical.
Yeah,
I mean, because as we always say, we're not consultants.
I was going to say that aligns hugely, doesn't it, with what we think.
What's our motto as a company? Don't outsource thinking.
Yeah. And
that is based on something that I began seeing when I was a journalist before I even started Red Team Thinking, before I even wrote the book Red Teaming. And I know you've seen this too in your work, is I have never been in an organization where the answers that organization needed to navigate successfully forward didn't exist, didn't reside within that organization. What they lack are the tools and the techniques to surface those good ideas, to make sure that the best idea wins, regardless of whether it comes from the CEO or the most junior person in the room.
Correct.
And, we tell a story that one of the very first red teaming exercises that the U.S. military did after this decision support red teaming methodology was developed back in the early 2000s was a major review of the national military plan in the United States, and the best ideas, the ideas that ended up going to the Joint Chiefs of Staff and getting enacted, turned out all of them came from the lieutenant in the room. Not the captain, not the major, not the lieutenant colonel, not the colonel, not the 1-star, 2-star, 3-star. There were all of those generals in the room. And at the end of the day, it was the 24-year-old lieutenant that had the best ideas. That's true in business too. How do you know as a leader that the person who doesn't have the best vision of where you need to go as a company isn't the person that you just hired a year ago, who you've got, sitting in a corner and nobody's listening to?
Well, that's it, isn't it? When you're looking at now recruiting Gen Z, Gen Z for this side of the pond, this generation are more likely to challenge. They're less tolerant of the BS. But if you don't give them that capability to speak up, if you don't give them an opportunity or a sounding board, then what are they going to do? They're going to leave. They're going to go and find an organization that will do that will engage them, because that's ultimately what people want. I want to be engaged in the workplace. When I get up in the morning, I don't think I'm just going to go to work today, do the bare minimum, keep my head down and not have a thought in my brain that's going to be of value. I don't think, clearly there will be some out there, but I don't think the majority of people think that way. I think people want to get up. They want to make a difference. They want to do good in the world. They want to help people. They want to have ideas and they want to be heard and share them. And they want to see that they're making a difference.
Right. Making a difference. And, what do we see though in employee engagement surveys time and time again?
21%. The last round of Gartner scores were 21% of employees are engaged in the workforce. I think it was 79% are disengaged. And of that 79%, 15 are actively sabotaging your company. It's crazy.
And this goes back to why are those 15% actively sabotaging your company? Well, this is what I experienced firsthand when I was a business journalist. When I covered Ford Motor Company, people, including very senior people in the company, gave me incredibly damaging information. One story I wrote, I had a friend who was a VP at JP Morgan call me up after a story I wrote, which was I revealed the true magnitude of the losses at Jaguar for the first time, which were not public. friend of mine at JP Morgan called me. He said, we just did the numbers. He said, you destroyed $2 billion in shareholder value today with your story. Because I wrote a story revealing what Jaguar's actual finances were, and Ford's stock tanked. And apparently it scuttled a deal to sell Jaguar that was in the works at the time too, that I didn't know about. But the reason why that person shared that with me was not because they were an ass who just liked to cause trouble. It was because this was a person who deeply cared about Ford Motor Company, who wanted to make a positive difference, who wanted to shake the company out of its lethargy. And this was back in 2005, 2006. And get them to start addressing some of the systemic problems that were causing these massive losses.
They cared.
And they couldn't get anyone to take their concerns seriously, because people were just, moving papers from one box to another and happy to take their bonuses, and no one was really, putting in a big effort above them. And so they said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull their pants down in public so that everybody sees what a mess they're making of this company.
Cause a reaction.
And that's going to shame them, I hope, into fixing it. And so you see that happening all the time. And so this person, I guarantee you, if this person had been listened to, when this person shared their concerns with senior leaders, which they had many, many times, and said, I think we need to do something to address it. Here are my ideas. I'd like to share them with you. If the response had been, yeah, let's have a conversation about that. You're right. We can't go on like this. That person would have never in a million years shared that with me. And the proof of it is when Alan Mulally took over as CEO of Ford Motor Company, within 6 months, nobody ever shared anything with me again.
No need. Alan's door was open, wasn't it?
His door was open.
Yeah, absolutely.
His email, every employee could email him and he'd respond. The company was addressing its problems. People felt heard. They felt engaged. It's not hard, folks.
No.
There's not rocket science, but you have to have the tools, you have to have the techniques, and you have to have the confidence as a leader to engage your employees. And that's what our coaching folks are hopefully going to be supporting leaders with. And that's what, as trainers, they'll be teaching organizations how to do.
Yeah. And I think having that confidence as a leader to ask, showing that vulnerability, but also having that confidence as an employee to speak up and engage. Because how often do we hear, I want to hear this from all you people, so give me your ideas. And people go, do they really? It's a trap. And they give some ideas.
It's a trap.
Exactly. Don't go there. But they give their ideas and they get dismissed or they get ignored. And it's like putting surveys out, isn't it? After you keep asking and people do so, and then you ignore them, then what's going to happen? You're going to get silence. And then people are going to go, yeah, they say they want this, but they don't. Not really. Whereas we know where we've worked with organizations where the C-suite and the executives have come out and said, look, A, we want this, and B, we're now going to arm you with the tools and techniques to do this. It's going to be anonymous if you want to, but pretty much you won't need that. But this is going to allow us to hear you, for you to challenge us and to have that discourse and to level the playing field, to bring that room down to everybody's equal. From a thinking and cognitive perspective. It doesn't matter whether the CEO's in the room or the newest intern, all those stories that we've got, all those experiences we've got with our clients, when the room is buzzing and they're all using the tools and the techniques, you can bring anyone in from the outside and go, right, who's who in this room? You would not know from the behaviors you see, where normally you walk in a meeting and you know exactly who's the alpha, who's the CEO, who's the boss, who's the quiet guy who's got all the ideas but never speaks, because you can physically and visibly see it and feel it. When we do this well, and we do it with our clients and the coaches out there are doing this, it's an incredible thing to behold. And it's so, I said it again, heartwarming. I love watching this happen, feeling it happen in the room, and then the outcomes just start to begin flowing out of people's brains. And the challenge then counteracts that. Oh, I disagree. And instead I go, what do you mean you disagree? They go, great. Why do you disagree? Tell me why. Brilliant. That's now made me think differently. And someone else comes in and you get this huge cataclysmic behaviors morphing into this amazing sort of beyond brainstorming session. I love it. Absolutely love it.
I do too. And more exciting stuff to come. Can't wait to start training this new cadre of Red Team instructors and unleashing them upon the world as well.
Are they ready?
It's been a great journey, my friend.
It has indeed. Look forward to it. Speak to you soon.